Hey, and welcome back to the Methodical Marketer's Guide to Greatness. I'm Zia, and I'm here to keep marketing practical, human, and actually doable. And this week, we are deep in the topic of customer acquisition, but not in the hack your funnel or run 5 webinars kind of way. I'm talking about customer acquisition that actually works, the kind that is built on real clarity and not just visibility. Because showing up more doesn't always get you better results. And today I want to take you behind the scenes of a real life campaign that proves just how powerful things can actually get when you really understand who your customer is and you really understand what your customer is looking for. This is the story of how I worked with an online university, a brand that was already doing quite a lot. And I helped them make a few key changes that actually transformed the quality of their leads. So if your content is out there but not converting, or your ads are running but your inbox is still a ghost town, then this podcast episode is for you. Okay, so let's start with where this university was when they came to me the first time. So they're a South African-based business college, and they offer online qualifications, and their programs are really solid and their teams very effective, and they were engaged, and they weren't new to digital marketing. They were doing paid ads, they were doing email marketing, the usual stuff, sharing content and all of that. But despite the effort that they were putting in, they weren't really getting the leads that they needed, or rather they weren't getting the right leads. Conversions on the leads were low, and the leads coming through weren't always a good fit. People would click through but drop off before committing, or they would click through, submit their details, and when the sales team phones, it was them applying for a job. The team was frustrated, and honestly, rightly so. It felt like they were doing everything right, but something it still wasn't working. And this is where a lot of businesses land. They assume they have a traffic problem or a platform problem. Maybe the ad just needs to look a bit better, or maybe they just need to share more content. But here's what I told them. Okay, this wasn't a visibility issue. It was a clarity issue. They had eyes on their content, but the message just wasn't hitting home. It wasn't speaking directly to the person it was meant for. And that's where we started our work. So we didn't dive straight into rewriting the ads or tweaking the landing pages or stuff like that. We started with something much, much more fundamental: listening. So we worked with our team to kind of map out who their ideal student was, not just in terms of a job title or demographics, but what that person was going through in their real life. Where were they studying? What was holding them back? What did they want from a qualification beyond just the certificate? And that's when we discovered something really, really important. We realized that a lot of the university students weren't looking to start something brand new. They were looking to prove something they'd already done. These were people who had been in the workplace for years, building skills on the job, but without the formal qualification to back it up. So they weren't chasing education for the sake of education. They were chasing recognition, validation, and confidence, and sometimes career progression as well, that required a certificate to actually unlock it. Once we saw that, everything changed. We weren't selling a course anymore. We were offering recognition for hard-earned experience. And that insight gave us the language we needed to connect. The message wasn't, come get a business qualification online. It became more, you've already done the work, now get the recognition you deserve. That one shift made the entire campaign feel more personal, more relevant, and much more effective. With that insight in hand, we rewrote almost everything, actually. The landing page copy, the ad text, all of it. Instead of focusing on the features of the program, like the duration, the modules, the flexibility, and all that jazz, we leaned into the emotional journey. We talked about what it meant to feel overlooked, what it feels like to finally have your skills recognized, to earn that promotion, to say, I've got the qualification to match the work I've already been doing. And we didn't ignore the practical hesitations either, the time, the cost, the energy. We addressed them all, but in a way that respected where the student was starting from. And here's what happened. The ads started attracting the right people and gently repelling the wrong ones. And the quality of the leads also improved noticeably. You see, this wasn't about clever tricks or like flashy funnels or anything like that. It was about knowing who we were speaking to and why they cared. And you know what? It wasn't just about the message that got sharper. Having a clearer picture of who we were speaking to also helped us refine the ad targeting itself. Once we understood the specific motivations and challenges and also the natural demographic makeup of the audience, we adjusted the campaign settings to reflect the real life circumstances. So we targeted job roles aligned with the internal promotions, industries where recognition mattered, and even education levels that matched the upskilling without starting from scratch mindset kind of a thing. And this meant we weren't just writing better ads, we were also putting the ads in front of the right people. And that made such a big difference. So, what does this mean for you? If you're out there trying to attract more customers, but you're not getting results, it might be worth asking, do I really know who I'm speaking to? Not just their age or industry, but their everyday reality. Do I understand their hesitations, their hopes, their reasons for saying yes, and maybe, more importantly, their reasons for holding back? Because when you understand your customer at that level, you're not just guessing anymore. You're actually connecting. You're writing content that feels like it was meant for them. And that's when your messaging starts to do the heavy lifting. Honestly, if the university had kept tweaking their ads without actually clarifying their message, they would most likely still be stuck. But once they paused to really understand their customer, everything else started to fall into place. So, here's your challenge for this week. Talk to a customer and ask better questions. And revisit your website or your sales page and then ask yourself, does this sound like it's written for them or for me? And then start rewriting, even if it's just like one sentence. Write with their voice, their words, and their reality in mind. And as always, I am here to help if you need me. I'd love to have a chat. You can send me a message or book a consult and we'll unpack all of this together. Oh, and if you found that this episode resonated, please do me a favor and follow the podcast on Spotify. Until next time, thank you for listening.